And this is Real Estate Underground.
Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. It is Ed Mathews with the Real Estate Underground. Thank you so much for joining us again today. I really appreciate you making us a part of your day. One favor to ask, if you're getting good information or value out of these shows, I would greatly appreciate if you follow us on the platform in which you download your podcasts. Leave us a comment if there's a topic you'd like us to talk about. I read every single one, I swear. And also, if you really are getting a lot of value, tell a friend. It helps us grow. So with that, I am joined by Chad Ackerman. Chad is a Cincinnati Bearcat, which, most of the people I meet from Ohio are usually Buckeyes because there's more of them.
I want to break your heart, but paid money to go to Cincinnati, but my heart belongs to the Buckeyes.
That's okay.
See more Ohio State memorabilia back here.
Chad, welcome to the show. And congratulations on your national championship. I went to Villanova, but I'm a Michigan Wolverine football fan.
You beat a national championship team this year, so you got that to brag about.
Yeah.
I like to think my yelling accommodated for 2% of the victories.
Value in some.
I'm sure of it.
So welcome to the show, Chad.
Nice to meet you.
Chad, you and I actually follow someone very closely, and that is Brian Tracy. And I know you've got a ton of experience in his works and his consulting firm, Focal Point. And I also know that you are a heavy-duty real estate investor. One of the things that was really exciting and intriguing about your story, and I'm going to make you tell it, not me, but how you are joining your very deep and broad real estate experience with your business training that you got from the Brian Tracy world. Welcome.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey started like a lot of people go through. I was a career W-2 guy. I was in human resources of all things. So it wasn't like I was in finance or something. I wasn't compensation in HR. It is the numbers side of HR, if you will. So I was into analytic, a lot of spreadsheet work. But I was chasing the W-2, filling out my 401k, doing all the things we were taught to do as Gen Xer. And it hit that point. I actually changed jobs at one point in time. And a gal that I was working with dropped the little nugget on me of she was trying to come up with multiple income streams. And real estate was one of the things she was looking at. And I was like, I used to be in real estate years ago. I've always liked it. It makes sense. I'm going to start studying this. I started listening to podcasts and podcasts turned into listening to books. I was ready to go, but there's a lot of shiny objects to go through. I didn't act on anything for a long period of time and studied and ended up finding a local group to join and just learn more, meet some people in the space. Went to a few of those meetings, and the last one I attended, the founder of that group got up and talked about how he had left his W-2 because he was investing passively in real estate in syndications.
Yeah.
And that was like the switch that needed to flip for me, that I met him afterwards, found out we lived in the same suburb of Columbus, Ohio. So we got together for a beer and I learned more. And within a couple months, I was writing a check for my first syndication deal. I was ready to go. And I got bit by it so bad that I was like, the only thing this takes is capital. Where do I have capital? I've got it sitting in that 401k. And talking to some of my mentors, they're like, you're going to pay tax on that money no matter when you take it out. So you can almost scrub that idea as being an issue.
Right.
You're really just confronted with the 10% penalty that you're going to take. I was 49 at the time. On the next 15 years, I can make more than 10% on that money, I feel like. So I pulled the trigger on that as well and liquidated the 401k, moved it all into real estate. And it got me to a point where I was able to leave my W-2. Along that time frame, we also started saying, hey, we should start a meetup that's focused on syndications business as well. Teach people how to be limited partners and just share experiences. And we started a group called Left Field Investors. Our first meeting was scheduled to be March 18th of 2020. The world shut down 3 days before that.
Yeah.
So we were a pandemic baby. We would not have grown like we did if it weren't for the pandemic, because we wanted to be a local meetup and just get 10 or 12 of us around a table. That put us on Zoom. That allowed us to invite people that we knew that weren't local and as many people as we could get. And it grew and grew to where we ended up with about 2,000 people in our community when we were said and done. We didn't collect capital. We weren't capital raisers. We just wanted to have a place for LPs to come and share experiences.
Yeah.
But we tried to track what they invested with our group anyway. And we had over $50 million invested out of our community in a 1.5-year time frame. It was a very engaged group. And we learned a lot. It went so well that we ended up catching the attention of Bigger Pockets and Last year, we sold Left Field Investors to Bigger Pockets, and it's now branded as Passive Pockets instead. And we had a great time with that. It was good to see resources put to it that were bigger than what we had to keep it bondoed and duct taped together like we've been doing. So we sold it. I'm still on as an advisory committee member, helping advise it along the way for the next few years. But I wanted to go out and do something else. I still wanted to be active in this community, in this environment. And that's when I went out and bought a franchise with Brian Tracy's group, Focal Point, that I thought, what a great blend to take coaching skills blended with my experience and be able to bring that back and give back to the community and try to introduce people to it. That was my biggest energy out of Left Field Investors, was meeting new people and inviting them in to educate them on this space. I want to continue to do that because I really enjoy that side of this. Now here I am as a business coach, setting up my own business called CARE, Chad Ackerman Real Estate, to coach new aspiring limited partners on what this space is about and how to navigate it and get going, build the confidence to take action and write that first check.
Yeah, it's a journey.
There is a book in the works, as we talked about.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if there wasn't. So when that comes out, we'll have you back, and I can't wait to read it or probably listen to it. And the fact is that it's you've done quite a bit in this space. And I always tell people, I liken it to reading a book, right? You may be a few chapters ahead of me. I may be a few chapters ahead of somebody else. The beauty of that shared experience, whether it's through a community or social media or a book, is you're boiling down years and years and years of, frankly, some mistakes and a whole bunch of successes. And hopefully it's that way and not the other way. And boiling that experience down to something that's digestible in a few days worth of reading. And it's an amazing thing because we'll talk about mentors a little later in the show. But one of the things that being a mentor does is it warms your soul, right? I've had plenty of mentors out there who have been very kind and very generous. And I met some of them through their meetups. They didn't want anything from me. They just wanted to see me succeed. The only thing they really asked of me is, hey, when you figure it out, teach other people, and done. Happy to do
100%.
it. Right.
No, and that's exactly. I come from a family of educators anyway. Both my parents were, half my relatives are. That it's just in my blood to go give back and educate and teach to fish rather than fishing for them, kind of thing. So it just comes organically to me, and it just seemed like a good time with all that we've done with Left Field to go back into that community and introduce more people to it. That's
it's a natural progression, right? So you are educating limited partners. And I find that very unique in this area, in this world, because most of the people out there are teaching people how to syndicate, how to flip houses, how to actually be an operator on some level in some space within this real estate world. But there is no education on how the heck do you take $50,000, $100,000, whatever the number is, hand it to somebody that either you just met or you've known for a long time, and be able to evaluate a syndication or a project, and then hopefully receive passive income over the next 3, 5, 7 years and get it back, do it again if it works, right?
Yeah, 100%.
How the heck do you
I think the biggest thing that almost is a book of itself is like a Mythbusters book about being an LP. I think there's so many misnomers about, oh, you've got to be rich, or no, this is for private equity, or this is for institutional. No, I'm a regular guy. I was an HR person, for crying out loud. That's about as normal as it gets. That I want people to understand that it doesn't take something special. Anybody can do this. It takes due diligence. It's called passive investing, but it takes activity to do it. We always called it, and you got to be an active passive investor. But I just want to get people over the hump of thinking it's not for them. They aren't cut out to be that. Even that $25,000, $50,000 check that it takes to get in, there's ways to get around that. There's companies like TribeVest that we've worked with for years, where you could pool money together with friends or family or something. Maybe you're only putting 5,000 in per deal instead of 25. So I want to help people get over the hump of hands off. Our name, Left Field Investors, came from the fact that our financial advisors and people we knew said, oh, that syndication stuff, that's out in left field. You don't want to do that. It needs to be a part of this. And to your point, it's exactly why we started Left Field. There wasn't enough education out there. We could Google it. We could find how to flip houses, or we could find how to become a general partner. We couldn't find a lot to teach us how to be a LP. And that's why we started building left field the way we did. I always thought a great legacy for left field, or now maybe for me and my own business, is if I could build content that was taught in community college, in high school, in whatever level, have content out there to educate people at an early age of how is this? I'm trying to do it with my kids. My kids are 19 and 21 now. I've got them in a tribe with me. I invest with them together. I walk them through my due diligence so they understand it at a much earlier age than I discover it, and they can make better decisions down the road. I don't think everybody should liquidate their 401k and jump in like I did. I think there's a diversity amount there. Have your Wall Street, we called it left field, center field, right field. Right field was Wall Street, was the stock market. We thought center field was really where you want to play, where you've got some money on both sides. So you got diversification. So I just want to get out and meet the common guy that's looking for something else and let them know here's an avenue that can go. And then if I can get them to the conversation about tax benefits of it, that seems to really open up their eyes quite a bit more too.
Especially if come April, they're writing a big honking check.
And even more if we get some laws passed here soon that might bring back 100% bonus depreciation. Yes, Christmas comes early.
And again,
So that's my motivation.
how do you go about it? Is it workshops? Is it meetup groups? Like, how are you doing it?
Yeah, no, my goal is I'm going to offer a free webinar a month just to give some tidbits, introduce people to some of it, give them a little nugget or two. And then off of that, I've got workshops that I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper around and structuring it like an educational 101, 201, 301 kind of content. So depending on the skill level, if you're brand new versus if you've been doing this for a while and you want a deeper dive, I want to be able to offer that kind of content for anybody. And then be absolutely happy to do one-on-one coaching if somebody needs that interaction or wants to really, hey, let's look at something together. I'll definitely offer that kind of flexibility to them as well, just to see what I can do to help.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've talked about this on previous shows as well. I regularly meet people who stop me at the local coffee shop or the grocery store because I live in a small area. So we all know what everybody does for a living. And they're like, it's some version of, oh man, I wish I knew how to get into real estate and do what you do.
Yeah.
And the question I always ask is, what's stopping you? And the big three that I usually find are, I don't know where the money is. I don't know how to find the deals. And all three of those, in my mind, when I hear any of those three, I think, okay, you're afraid. And that's okay.
Bottom line,
it's a ton of responsibility. Of course you're afraid. But the way to get over that and the way I got over it took me 3 years to get the courage to pull the trigger on a deal. It sounds like it took you a little bit of time as well, was education. Right. And if you can offer a process to say, okay, Ed Mathews, operator at Clark Street, is handing you, Chad Ackerman, a potential limited partner, a private placement memorandum. How do you, as Chad, evaluate that deal to see if Ed and his team know what they're talking about or if they're just full of it?
Absolutely.
What is the process that you'll take them through? I know you'd said 101, 201, 301. So that's
right.
Exactly. Two questions, actually. One, how do you decide as a potential LP which level is right for me? And then secondly, what is the kind of core focus of each of those levels?
What I want to do is offer up some one-on-one discussions if they're interested to get started and feel out their skill level and recommend where it might fit best for them to help guide them on my material. Would it be valuable to them? But I always go back and start with goals. Like I made a mistake with my first investment. I didn't know what I was trying to do. I got sucked into the shiny object syndrome and I pulled the trigger on a 17-story building in Cleveland that was going from office to multifamily. That looked awesome. 7X kind of pro forma. It was clicking on all the boxes that I was excited about. I was really looking for cash flow because I wanted to leave my W-2. That was a terrible investment to get into if I want cash flow. Sadly, it ended up going on. He couldn't get the construction loans figured out and ended up losing it because his bridge loan ran out of time. I shouldn't have been in it in the first place because it didn't align to my goals. It wasn't going to cash flow for years. So it takes some time to spend energy on that first step of what's your strategy? What are you really trying to do with this? Because that filter is huge at the top where there are so many things to do. The more you can get those goals in place at the beginning, then you can trim out a lot of that and it's a lot less distracting so you can get focused. And then it is about due diligence. Talk about how we say bet the jockey, not the horse. So it's spend time vetting the operator before you look at their deals.
Yeah.
Understand who you can know and trust. And a way we say to build that is to get into a community of limited partners. There's a few of them out there. Passive Pockets is the one that we transpired into. There are other ones out there. Join multiple of them because you're just going to be able to get that data. I won't invest with an operator now that I can't go into Passive Pockets and say, hey, have you ever heard of Chad Ackerman real estate before? And if nobody replies, hey, I want to watch you for a year, see what you're doing. Because nobody spoke up and said they know you. So I want to know somebody that knows you before I'm going to invest with you, or I'm going to watch you for a period of time.
It's interesting because, the world, like I liken it to buying a car. So we just bought my daughter a car, and time was when I went to go buy a car. She's graduating from college.
Same age. Yeah.
And time was when I went to buy my first car. I went in and they gave me the shiny brochure, thought about colors and options and all this stuff. And then I bought basically what I got cajoled into buying. And
That's fair.
I'd like to say I did a good job negotiating it. Maybe I didn't, but whatever. That was 400 years ago. These days, my wife found that car online. We shopped the living daylights at it. We had a Carfax report on it because it had 6 miles on it, but it was a 2024. I'm not sure. I don't remember the story. But yeah, my wife is like a dog on a bone with this stuff. And by the time we walked in, we knew, I don't want the white one. I want that VIN number. I want that car, and it's worth this. And this is what I'll pay for it. Instead of a 4-hour negotiation drive around, pick a color, let me see if I can find that one. We want that one for this number. Okay, I can't do that number, but I can do this number. Turns out there's another program we can do that number. Fantastic. Where do I sign? 45 minutes later, everything was done, and they washed the car. An hour after that, we were gone for 90 minutes, maybe.
It's a different world.
Different world. And I think that the limited partner real estate world is very similar in that, like you were saying, if you don't know a guy who knows me or you, tap the brakes, because the best and most efficient way to evaluate somebody is by following somebody who's already done that work and succeeded.
Agreed. And I tell people all the time, there's no better time to be an LP than right now, because a lot of those GPs that were new and didn't know what they were doing, that were the risk that we didn't realize, have gotten exposed because they didn't know all the lessons yet. You have a list of GPs that made it through the past several years. Fine. Right. If you have some that even date back to 2008, all the better. They've been through a couple financial crises. And if they've made it through it, then that makes me feel a lot better about them. Hopefully people that have worked with them, and you can get some direct contact from them too. But all of that, I think, just feeds into it, which just, like I say, makes it easier to be an LP now, because 5 years ago, anybody could start up a syndication and they were doing well. I got burned. I got caught on a couple of them that everything flipped on them and they weren't prepared for it. And we didn't either. I study deals a lot better than I used to, because I didn't used to look at loan structure near as much as I do now.
Yeah, I got in with a general partnership. I was an LP. Her name's Maureen Miles, and it was a 4M real estate, I think. And the reason I mentioned it is because it was resoundingly successful. But I got lucky, right? I knew people that knew Maureen really well. And those people I trusted implicitly because they were smarter than me and high integrity type people. And they're like, if I'm putting my money down, it's going to be on Mo. And so I put a little chunk of money in that. And 2-3 years later, it came back in 2x. And it was wonderful. The key that you mentioned earlier was really important for that success, which was I knew a whole bunch of people that knew her really well.
It's too risky not to know people. And it doesn't mean we always get it right. There have been tried and true GPs that have been running for years, really profitable, really good situations that have turned up recently with getting exposed that something wasn't correct. You're minimizing that risk by getting in a community and getting feedback from people that have been investing with them for some time. It's worth it. The other thing we're just scratching the surface on is how AI can assist with a lot of this LP work as well. To be determined still. There's constant stories and podcasts about it these days, but all of them say the same thing of it's not going to tell you whether the deal's a go or no go still. It hasn't got to that degree, but can it help you do due diligence? And you give it your buy box and it tells you if it's in or out. That's great. And to me, it's understanding that criteria of your buy box that takes the emotion out of this so you can make a better decision on this.
It's red light, green light.
And get over the fear of missing out, because there's going to be another deal coming around the corner. Take the time, be patient.
Without a doubt.
Save yourself a lot of headache if you do.
headache being, hey, significant other, I lost $50,000 and
right.
we'll figure it out. And
Nobody wants
bad
those conversations.
It's a
Yeah,
great way to get a frying pan smacked over your.
exactly.
And so you're going to basically create this, you have created this platform. By the time this show comes out, this
Yep.
will all be live, which I'm excited for. I also think that it would behoove general partners to go through this process as well, because one of the things that I'm always interested in is how people evaluate me. One of the things that I like to do after an investment's made is have lunch or buy a cup of coffee and ask them, what did we do right? What can we do better? What should we continue doing? What should we stop doing? The classic
Yeah.
questions, right? And just help our team get better, right? And the
Yeah.
feedback we get is most of it's people very nice, but
Yeah.
every once in a while I get somebody who's, look, this went really well until one of your people did this. And then I had to sit down with you and figure that out. And we figured it out and we moved forward. If I didn't
Yeah.
have to go ask those questions, it would be much better. That means more transparency. Okay, no problem. We can definitely do that. I think that general partners would be blown away by how people evaluate their properties, because I think I've met so many of these GPs over the years. There's a whole lot of confirmation bias floating around in the air.
When we sold our company to Bigger Pockets, I told one of my partners, I said, you know what our spinoff company out of this is? Somebody that goes and coaches GPs, because I said there's very few people that have had the access to LPs that we've had, and the blind transparency that we had, unfiltered kind of feedback that we received.
Yeah.
I ran it past a couple GPs too, and they were like, we talk to hundreds of GPs every week or LPs every week. We have a pretty good pulse. I said, how honest do you think they were with you versus how honest they were with me? I said, you do it well. You probably get 80% of it, but I bet we get 10 or 20% that you don't know or hear all the time. That's probably valuable to you too. I haven't figured out how to work that out necessarily yet, but we had the exact same idea. I think there's value there to help GPs. And if nothing else, every GP I've ever met has said, well, I like educated LPs so much better than the non-educated one because they just know the process. I'm like, that's what I want to do, is help educate that LP so they're a better LP for you. Part of my approach will be to go back to the GPs that I know really well and say, hey, I'm doing these courses. Put this out to your people. See if any of them are interested. But maybe
on that list.
Yeah, I think there's value there for both sides. And that's always what it felt like we played at left field, was the middleman role of trying to help GPs with what we could, but educate LPs as well, so that they all got together and there's enough space to play in this space that we just wanted to get people together and then make the most of it.
But the education on both sides is the key.
It's big,
right?
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. All right, Chad, I could talk for days and days.
This is what tells me that I'm doing the right thing. Get into these conversations all the time now. I'm glad you think so too.
I wholeheartily agree. And I think it's something that really needed. There's a community on Twitter, on Retweet, that is just for LPs. And there's an attorney that runs it. I can see his face, but it's invaluable, right? Because that's what he does, is he represents limited partners
to connect.
He's absolutely Andrew. It starts with a C, but I can't remember his last name. The information shared is invaluable. I wasn't there as an LP. I was there as a fly on the wall. I just want to see what people care about, what works for them, what bothers them, what stresses them out, what makes them feel good, what provides value. That's what I was looking for. So it's an interesting community.
I think there's so much green space here that you can make it as big as you want to make it. If I can start introducing people to the space and get them excited about it like I am, I call that a victory.
So let's talk about victories then. We'll get into the final five. And so first one is all about getting out of bed on Monday morning, right? I'm curious, you've obviously done very well with your real estate and the sale of left field, and now you're building care. So, clearly people get to a point in life where the mortgage is getting paid, kids' college is all set, the cars are paid off, right? No credit card debt, but you still get out of bed on Monday morning. And I'm curious, the way I define that is purpose, right? So I'm curious about your purpose. What gets you out of bed on Monday morning?
Yeah, honestly, it's what we're doing right now. It's these conversations of just talk real estate with people, introduce them to the space. I'm at a point, I could go work at Lowe's right now and I'd be just fine. But would I be excited to get out of bed to do that? No. The fact I can still talk about real estate with people and introduce new people to it, it's still new enough that LP is still, there's just few enough of us that you can't go talk to your neighbors, you can't talk to your family typically about this. So I want to introduce people to it and help them find other like-minded people that they can just grow on. And so if I can start and introduce people to it, that covers my purpose
Yeah.
for sure.
It's interesting. You get together with family and everything. Hey, how's your business? Oh, it's good. Cricket. They have no
Yeah.
idea. They really don't know. And it's fine. I remember my youngest, who was much smaller then, saying something about, my dad has something to do with dirt.
I actually thought I should run my family through my material and see if any light bulbs go on or not.
Yeah, I'm sure that. So I'm always interested in mentors and the folks that have given you advice and help over the years. What's the best advice you ever got, and who gave it to you?
I think one of the ones that's been the most important to me, and I heard it from a buddy and I've read it in a couple books, but it was you're the product of the 5 closest people that you're next to. And I purposely went looking for 5 better people to be around, if you will. I knew where I wanted to go. I talked to friends about it and they just didn't quite get it either yet. So I knew I wasn't going to get the support I needed there, that I went and sought out people that were like-minded, that were, to your point earlier, a few steps ahead of me.
Yep.
So that I could learn off of them. I fed off of them. They had great information. I probably asked them way too many questions that burned them out, but it was great. And it was a dichotomy of people that were a couple steps ahead of me and people that were several steps ahead of me.
Yeah.
I knew several steps was hard because it was pie in the sky for me at the time. So I liked having that mix of what could it be and then what are the next few steps going to look like.
Yeah.
I like that mix of people to lean on and learn from.
Because they see different types of deals, right?
Exactly.
Somebody who's got 1,000+ units is seeing entirely different deals. The person that you're meeting at a local meetup who's got a couple hundred units, both have their challenges and they're probably similar, but there's different stuff to talk about.
I want to meet both sides. I want to explain to them what non-accredited is and help them understand, hey, you can grow in this space as a non-accredited person too. Yep. And then you'll reach that threshold and the sky will open up even further for you at that point.
So let's talk about, we had alluded to earlier about GPs stepping on their ties, as they say, over the course of the last few years. Yeah, it's been a rough road. I was at a conference, Raise Masters, down in Phoenix, and the theme was Survive to 25. And one speaker, actually, Tom Bilyeu, came in and he goes, 95% of the people in this room right now won't be here next year. I was like, oh, really? I'll let you know. I'll be back next year. But it's always interesting about mistakes, because I actually think, I fundamentally believe that we learn so much more from the mistakes we make than from our successes.
Yeah.
Here at my company, that's a huge thing. No one gets in trouble for making a mistake.
Yeah, go try.
It's a matter of, okay, what did we do? What were we thinking at the moment? Was that the best decision we could make with the information we had? Okay, what's the process we went through? And if it's accurate and it just didn't work out, so be it. If we skip steps or something, then we fix it and don't do it again. But the fact is that we're human beings. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
So it's a constant process. I'm a techie guy, so I'm process oriented anyways. Everything has a checklist. And if the checklist is wrong, then let's fix it. I tell people all the time, I'm like, hey, I don't need to be right. We just need to get it right. So let's figure that out. I'm curious about a mistake that you made in your professional travels, a decision you'd like to have back, and what'd you do to fix it?
Yeah, I'd go back to that original investment again of pulling the trigger on something that I should not have gone into because my criteria was not set right. And my goal with my business is to help people find clarity first around their goals that they have, build their confidence to be able to go then ultimately take that action. Taking action is going to serve you so much more than analyzing to death. You might get it wrong. You don't want to get it wrong too often. Obviously, it's not our goal here by any means, but getting it wrong hopefully isn't the end of the world, that you can learn from it and then not make similar mistakes the next time. But mine was definitely that first investment. And my lesson learned was pause, take the time to study what I really want out of it, use that as a filter to trim down all the deals that I was getting in my inbox so that I could go find the ones that really worked for me and what I was trying to do.
Smart.
Yeah.
Target. You actually hit the target when you're aiming.
It's amazing. The analogy I got was, how fast do you want to run in the dark anyway?
You run into that light pole that is sitting out there somewhere.
Random.
Okay. So I'm also always interested in leaders like you who are obviously you're an educator, but I'm fairly confident in assuming that you're also somebody who values education yourself. I'm curious about how you take in information. What's the book on your nightstand, physically or virtually? I'm
Yeah.
curious what you're reading and who you're paying attention to.
Yeah. So because of where I am with this business now, I've actually gone back and trying to find material of books that are out there to introduce people to this space. So I've got a book by Gary Lipsky here that's Invest Smart, Spotting Red Flags in Real Estate Syndications. So I've gone back to try to find some of that core material that's out there for beginners to help see that it reinforces my message and my education that I'm doing so I can provide something more meaty. Not, I'm a data collector, so I don't like to think I've got the answers. Let me make sure I've baked that in so that I can build the best quality stuff that I can to
And then
share with people.
one of my favorite questions is, what question am I not asking that I should?
Yes.
Yeah.
What should I have done?
Yeah, it's smart.
He's with Today Capital.
I'll make sure that we put that in the link as well.
Cool.
All right. So the last one is success. How are you defining success today?
Success today, to me, is twofold. It's education related, but it's first and foremost trying to teach my kids about this as much as I can, giving them as much information that they can have that feeds into them making better decisions earlier on than I did. My son's 19. He's passed on the college idea. He was done with school. He actually came to me when he was 17, starting his senior year, and said, I think I want to become an electrician. And he's, I want to flip houses. He's, won't that help me be able to flip houses? I'm like, absolutely. I love this idea. And he started into his job. He filled out a Roth IRA last year. He's got one on par to go up this year. And he's saving money like crazy. And I'm like, he's starting to look at houses now. And I'm like, great, let's talk about it. What is a good investment for you at your age and everything? And what can we do together? How can I help? What can you get into? So it's education around my kids. They're the biggest thing to me. They're the most important thing. Further education of the community to introduce more people to this space. If I can introduce a person a year, I hope it's a lot more than that, but that's success to me of just bringing people into the fold, showing them there's something more than Wall Street and being stuck in the grind and burning out in a W-2 because you got to work for those dollars and everything like that. I had a buddy who was in his early 40s, had a heart attack and couldn't work for a year. There's my test case of exactly why I want my money working for me, just in case, because you never know what's going to happen. That I want that insurance of money working for me rather than me working for the money all the time.
Absolutely. And your son is really smart. I was just talking to somebody not 3 days ago about if, let's just say I didn't take advantage of the college educational opportunity that I probably could have, right? I had way too much fun. But if I had to look back on now, if I were 17, I would give a trade a very serious look, especially because the return on investment for college, it's debatable, right? You're going to spend, there are colleges, you and I are you probably in the similar station in that, or similar point where, you know, at least one of our kids, we're looking at colleges. There are schools out there. My wife and I went to the same college where we met, and that school is, I want to say $85,000 or $90,000 a year. The average for a non-technical degree coming out, the average income is like in the 70s. So you're going to get $400,000 or $500,000 in debt for a $70,000 a year job. What do you do? What do we do?
Yeah. No, I was so proud of it. Like, it was the most mature thing I'd ever seen him do to that point, was to have that thought and feel that strategy, which I'm like, hey, I'm glad you're not going to waste my money in college and burn through it, which he's 95% me. So I know how he's going to act. Now, he and his sister, she's in college, she's studying architecture. They have this little battle of who's going to be happier, who's going to be more successful, all this good stuff. So define success. What does that mean exactly?
Right.
You got to
define happy.
I love it. I'm proud of both of them.
Yeah, I'll tell you, up until about my early 40s, the richest guy I ever met was a plumber. His name was Bill Templeton, and he was a local plumber who would charge a certain amount of money for his time and his guys, and a certain amount of it went into a little savings account. And when that got built up, he went and bought an apartment building, and then he bought another one. And I moved back to the area back in the 2008 timeframe and caught up with him before he passed, actually. And he showed me a small portion of his portfolio. We went driving around, and I was like, that's $20 million worth of real estate. Just a regular guy, worked hard for a living. That's it.
Yeah. So to me, that's the education that's missed is we're growing up. We were, at least we were, I'm assuming we're similar age. we were taught, go to school, get a job, work there for 35 years, put your money in the 401k, or if they have a pension at the time, great, get the pension and work with it. But as I studied wealthy people, real estate was in every one of their portfolios, and whole life insurance programs were in a lot of those portfolios, and all these tools that nobody had ever explained to me, that I'm like, that's what I want to help people just understand so they can make their own decisions around. At least know, hey, you don't have to be, you can do this as a regular W-2 and grow it like he did. Take your time, save some money up, keep it in the machine for a while, and it'll do well for you.
My family's assets, we have a portion of our stuff in real estate and a portion in the stock market. Most of it's in the stock market, but the fact that it's not everything. It's just a little piece of your within your financial journey that gives you hopefully outsized returns and some downside protection when the inflation bubble pops like it did over the last couple of years.
That was my fear with my 401k. Is for years I watched it go up and down and up and down. And when I was young, I'm like, oh, it's going down. It's great. It's cheaper for me to buy now. I love this. This is fantastic. But then as I started getting older, I'm like, what if I need that money at some point and it's in the down and I'm out of luck? And that's where diversification kicked in for me, or that desire to get to it.
That's all it is.
Then I'm like, yeah, let me hedge just in case. I feel like real estate more often than not is going to be the steady up versus the stock market that could be up, could be down, who knows?
And the reason I say that is it's not the net worth that sets you free, it's the cash flow.
Yeah.
And those are two entirely different
things. To understand that, of when you're talking about, oh, I want financial freedom, what does that mean to you? Let's understand that. So you understand, I can explain it to you maybe more so that you can make good decisions then about what you're investing in.
Yeah. When I ask the question about success, I talk about time freedom.
Believe that.
I don't have to ask anybody other than my wife or significant other where I'm going. And the fact is that's being able to live life on your terms without having to ask permission
anybody
is fun.
I had reached that point where I was still in my W-2. They knew what was going on. They knew I was short term. I never felt more empowered. I was at a big company, Cardinal Health. They started going through some layoffs. A person in our department got laid off. And I went to my boss and my boss's boss, and I said, look, I'm short term. Fire me, give me a package. I'll take the package and go anyway. But there are people here that need a job or want their job still. I'm on my way out. So just take me. But I was in such a specialized job focused on sales comp. They're like, we can't, unfortunately, we need you here still. I was working 1 day a week for a while, keeping full benefits just because they wanted to keep me on. And I'm like, I'll stay for that for a while longer. That's fine. It put me in a spot where I had that ability to negotiate things I'd never been able to negotiate before.
Yeah, right on. It's amazing how clear your head gets when you don't need that gig. But it's not, oh my God, I need that paycheck on Friday on the 15th and the 1st in order to pay the mortgage.
It's a great spot to get to. I want to try to help people get there. To lead them down a path.
I'm a fan. So good luck. And let's talk about something non-real estate related. So when you are not saving the world of LPs from sinister general partnerships, what do you like to do? How do you spend your time?
I still try to get out and golf. I am lake shopping now for my next chapter of life. I want to end every day with water around me somehow. So I'm trying to focus on that, but golf's there. It's trying to chase the kids a little bit still, or let them know I'm still around anyway. Those keep me busiest these days.
If you play golf like I do, I find the water a lot.
Yeah.
So Chad, if folks want to learn more about you individually or care, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn, Chad Ackerman on LinkedIn. That'll be chadackermanrealestate.com. Come find me there. I'm happy to reach out, do one-on-ones with people that are just curious. See if I can help nudge them in the direction, give them a little confidence and get them on their way. Love to be able to do that for people.
Awesome. Chad, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Continued good fortune. And thank you for carving out time in your busy schedule to meet with me and do this show.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for the time.
This has been the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, happy investing.